Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dcon main stage presented by Sony Pictures Animation. On this stage right now, we have a lot of the brain power and artistic creativity of everybody's favorite booth over in the corner, the loudest one here. Let's make some noise for our friends over at Veve. So I was trying to explain to people what it's like doing a panel with Veve, because we did one last year. I'm like, it's got that .com energy, but the people don't suck. You know what I mean? It's like people that are excited about making money, collecting, but also excited about art. And I have to say right out of the gate, Reese, David, what makes your movement different than all the other companies is you got a great product, and we'll get into that, but you built a fucking community. And that is the most important thing any creative can have. And I've been putting up daily vlogs, and the first ones had nothing to do with Veve, and the comments were like, Veve! It's like almost like Viva Revolution, man. People are so fired up. So let's talk about this. One of the big announcements this week is the Veve-verse. And now we're gonna not only get collectibles, but we're gonna start offering a virtual space to go into, to explore, and to keep celebrating creativity and art, but in a whole new way that people haven't done it before. How excited are you about this next evolution of the business?
Very excited, personally. Yeah, this has been quite a long time coming. So to do the first look demo this weekend was super exciting for us. I trust that it was for everybody here as well. But really, that's the next stage of social interaction when it comes to these collectibles, right? It's not just the community that we've built here that gives us opportunity to build that across borders and across the internet.
So when you say it's been a while to do this, 2 years, 3 years, the company's been around for 5. Like, how long have we actually been trying to build the verse?
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show here. Thanks for fans. Yeah, we envisioned the digital collectible to be in a digital space for quite some time. I mean, it was always in our roadmap, you know, what we so-called the afterlife of the NFT. What else are you going to do with it?
Right.
And what else you could do with it, and how you want to interact with it. You know, some of the most basic interactive, the AR function, the showrooms, these were rolled out pretty much on the day one. The Veve-verse, the whole idea of these collectible to be in another digital space has been in the works for the past 2.5, 3 years. But the brainstorming really started in about 2017.
What I found interesting about when I first was brought into your world was that you had already out of the gate said people are going to buy these digital items, but they want to have a place to show them off. And there was the space, the room where they could do the collection. I know you guys were, once again, community focused. You really celebrated people that went out of their way to create these spaces. But it seems like going even further and keep bringing the digital experience in is going to be intricate to this amazing community. And, you know, there were a lot of people when you guys first started doing this that kind of gave you a little bit of shit because it was a controlled environment. Veve exists inside of Veve. But to those people, I'd say, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of nefarious cowboys roll in and roll out of town. A lot of people have got burnt, and your reputation has only increased. You got more people that trust you, and with the use of IP and branding, you're bringing more customers any day. So now, 5 years in, you guys feeling pretty confident about the decision to be in a controlled, closed environment and not just kind of be out there with everybody else?
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a difference maker because you all have confidence in these folks and you know who they are, you know where to contact them. It's not all through a cloak of darkness. And I mean, there's a cool aspect of that side of the world. I'm not totally trashing it, but I think what you guys have done really well is you have brought consumer confidence to a space where a lot of people are like, what the fuck am I buying? What do I do with this? And I think you guys have really figured out a way to overcome that main obstacle.
I really agree. And I mean, that was really crucial to our early success anyway, making sure that the app was easy to understand and made these collectibles really accessible, which you just don't get in the wider NFTs.
Right. So let's talk about the verse real quick, the Veve verse. My man over here in the front row, at the top of the hour, did not give a shit that we were sitting up here. He's like, I'm getting the drop, I'm getting the drop. And he got the drop. Congratulations. Is that how we're going to acquire real estate? Is it going to be that same way? Like, have we announced to people like how we actually buy into the verse and get our little plot of paradise?
Yeah. So our vision of the metaverse, or what we call it in a way, is interactive storytelling. Where we're moving into is in phases.
Okay.
So the phase one is really about your home, the space that what we call the Veve vault right now. It will be your surrounding. And the idea is how you invite your friends by sending them a link for them to come inside to look what you have built. We want to introduce accessories, furniture's package, to enhance your experience is what we're really going for. And then slowly we will be bringing out different type of showroom with different type of IP owners to experiment the metaverse, the digital space. And eventually, in one of our phase will be where you purchase. And we have a program where what we call the Master Collectors Program, where a lot of our collectors and users are starting to engage with is that you get points, you get rewards, and you get special invites, certain things. And that will be part of how eventually when the land comes out for sale, will operate.
So I'm curious, when you say we're doing this in phases, and over the 5 years, there's been lots of different phases of the company. Is that because of research and development and being on the edge of technology, or is it also because of informing a customer base because this is all a new frontier?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. That's a really good question. We've kind of felt that the metaverse, it's not relevant to what we were doing initially to be launched, to go ready to live. It's too deep. And what Veve app is all about is to bringing, number one, the community, and number two is to get people to go outside to use the AR experiment, rather than just bringing people into the dark hole, into the metaverse, where I really believe that most of us are so stick to screen times these days, they kind of lost that social communication aspect. The metaverse for us, what we don't want is you come into it, you're in New York, I'm in LA, someone's in London, some other time zone, you come in and you don't see your friend in there. After 4 or 5 times you've been into this metaverse, you lost interest because you don't meet the people you want to communicate with. So instead, we're doing it phases to ensure that the audience and understanding this is the product they want and this is the experience they want. What comes worse is you come into the space and no one's there and you're by yourself.
And once again, community. Frank knows this from being in the music industry. Bands that would easily get signed by labels were bands that had proven that they had already created an audience because the record label knew they had less work to do because people were already willing to buy the product.
Same. So as a content creator for Veve, my job is going to be to not only understand what I want to do and what maybe my collectors want, but to look at what they can provide, and then I'm going to do my artwork customized to work with their model. So as their thing gets more complex and works better and has more functionality over time, I'm going to work with them to provide assets. So like if I end up getting to have like an asset library for Labbit's Enchanted Forest where I create all the cartoon backgrounds and all the trees and all the stuff, and then you can plug it into your room experience, then you have an option of like, you can be in like my style of world, but you, the customer, are actually designing it to make yourself happy. It's almost like I want to give you a set of Legos to play with in their metaverse. So it seems like stuff like that will be able to happen at some point. So as a content creator, that's super interesting because it's almost like making a cartoon or a little movie or something if you think about it in a certain way. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of like, if you collect my brand within Veve, at some point you'll be able to customize an entire environment for your Labbits, and then they can do stuff in there at some point. So I think it's really interesting. I actually like the incremental approach because as a content creator, what I have to do is understandable and will follow a logical order of succession, so I can plan out something. It's a nice thing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be slapping like, here's an existing thing, stick it in there. Like, more and more I want to like suit what I provide the platform to work well within the platform.
That's awesome. For those of you that are kind of new to the art world and you were brought here more from the digital side of things, Frank Kozik on the end and Jermaine Rogers right here, these are pioneers of different art movements. These are guys that are some of our heroes. They have guided us, and they are IP that if they're into digital, we want to follow these guys because following them in the past has paid off. And I'd like to see right now, by a show of hand, who got into Veve through some of the licensing properties, like a Disney or a Marvel, like something that you recognize brought you in the door. Now keep that hand up if you've bought something from an artist that you met through Veve. See, that's the proof that that is the carrot on the stick that brings people into the space. And then once they're there, like, how did I not know who Tara McPherson or Frank Kozik or Jermaine Rogers is? Jermaine, I have a question for you. You've been on this road for a long time. A lot of us that are visual artists, the first time that somebody explains this to us, we go, what the fuck are we doing? And we all have a different moment when it clicks. What was your moment when you're like, oh, I see this, I want to be a part of this?
I guess it was just this sort of gradual awakening of, like, as an artist, you have a little bit of a God complex as an artist.
Very honest answer.
Yeah, because you're creating, and there's a real high that you get from creating, especially universe building, creating things and beings and places that people fall in love with, and it becomes a real part of that daily experience. And so when I started looking at the work that David and Dan were doing and realizing, like, oh, this is an opportunity to create a universe. You know, perception is reality, right? And that's one of the things that all the Veve people understand that a lot of others don't understand yet. Perception is reality. If you think it's real, it's real. And art works on that whole premise. Like the whole exercise of art is this sort of illusion that if you can get one other person to believe in it, it's real. And so this idea mixed with the technology, it's just, for me, it's just delicious to me to think that I can build a world here that really has no physical boundaries and that challenges the viewer to decide how they want to interact with the art. Like, are you really here for the art, or are you just here for stuff? Now, if you're here for both of them, that's great too, right? But I'd like you to at least be into it for the artistic experience on some level.
And for artists like Frank and Jermaine, what I'm excited about is both of these guys learned to design within restraint of screen printing, clients, low budgets. So now that they're in a world where everything's possible, they both know that restraint is their signature style. So I'm always very excited to see how gentlemen like yourself balance that. Well, I've always been these colors within these restrictions. And how do they make the impossible possible without overdoing it? You know, like the first time I opened up Photoshop, I was like, look at all these colors. And then you go out and screen print, and you're like, look at these 3 colors, right? And that's where good artwork comes from. So Jermaine, do you see a lane of possibilities, but also still trying to keep yourself in the fact that restraint has made you such a well-recognized artist?
Yeah, I think restraint, I mean, because like the best art imitates nature. You know, it's what the whole idea of color theory, for instance. It's like nature is perfect color. You look at an apple, a red apple on a green tree, and it looks so great. And you go like, oh, wow, the color spectrum says that these 2 colors make each other brighter. Well, that's, you know, that's nature, it's evolution, right? Well, the fact that that is the case, nature shows restraint. So I want to continue to show some restraint. That's more discipline in showing restraint than there is in, you know, just throwing stuff out there. So I want to continue to show restraint, but don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. Like, if these dudes keep making it possible for me to like do freaky stuff, you know, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, because yeah, if I can Spielberg, then I'm gonna Spielberg, you know.
That's what I'm excited though, is to see folks like yourself and Frank experiment in that space, because I know that you have the instincts to say, this fits inside of my world. And so I'm excited to see that world move and to be able to walk through it and hold up a camera and be like, whoa, this is how Jermaine would imagine this forest that I'm standing in front of, you know?
And I'll just say, that's why that Veve verse is so awesome, because I just think of like an area like, you know, for instance, my storylines, like an area of like the woods, where the deeper in it you go, these as a weirdness going on, you know, it's a little disturbing, but you feel comfortable there, you know, and it's just amazing. We're really in the midst of a time that's like we're in a golden age here. It's a really good time to be doing this work.
Something I found, yeah, that's amazing. Something I found awesome about your booth though, at the Veve booth this weekend, was that there's physical goods in there, right? So not only have you brought people in through this space, but now like the Jermaine Rogers character that's up on the platform there, such an amazing piece. Like it's fun to see it kind of go back and forth, right? And so let's talk about the idea of you guys actually making physical goods as the digital company.
Yeah, probably wasn't what we set out to do initially, because it was very much a digital product. But you know, as we've seen across this weekend, a lot of people here probably haven't been to a DesignerCon before and maybe wouldn't have come otherwise. But through the digital platform and finding that, you know, people have flown in from Europe, people have flown in from around the country, and now we can combine that and reintroduce physical products and physical works, because that's where it all began, right? So for us, it's a really satisfying way to be able to link those products and link people to the creators of them.
And I'm assuming as CEO and working with companies, let's talk a little bit out of the gate when you're getting your first licensing deals. I'm sure you got a lot of, what the fuck are we doing? But now with companies like Lamborghini literally rolling into the booth, are those deals? Yeah. Hands up if you drive a Lambo as your daily driver. Yeah. You guys just let you sit in the garage like me? Is it just starting to make more and more sense and it's getting easier for you to ring that little bell on your desk that says, I just closed the sale?
No, definitely not. It's been a huge challenge and collective effort from the team. Obviously, our biggest mission is to bring all the brands into a platform. So, you know, how we envision the brand, many of you will know we have Marvel, we have DC, we have Star Wars, Star Trek. Most of these companies will never mix these IP into one app.
Right.
And the reason being is because they do believe that their IP should belong into the universe that they belong. But collectors out there and all the people in this room this weekend, when you're at your home, you display your collectible, your superhero. All your collectibles are superhero to yourself. So no matter what you do, they are collectively sitting on your shelf. It's been a long challenge, and this never stops. And the reason being is that there are a few reasons. Number one is to ensure we bring relevant assets or topic to the platform. We will never announce a brand or a partnership unless we feel our audience are ready for this. And these are some of the key pillars in our business and moving forward. And you cover a little bit earlier with Reese is this, what we call phygital or a digital clone, where you have a physical product with a digital identity next to it, whether if it's a different color animations or a different design to really enhance that physical. And my job day to day is to ensure that we onboard companies who's in a very physical space who wants to transform and capture that digital audience.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a room full of super early adopters, right? Like this is, like as Frank said when we were talking earlier today, like this is something that's not going away. It's a new genre that was created right in our lifetime that's here for the long haul. So we're very, very early adopters. And I think that the phygital space is a very, very important half step that everybody else needs to follow us all into the future, right? And because we all got so excited about the technology, and because everybody here is forward thinking and an early adopter, we just jumped right in. And there's a lot of people like my wife that are like, what the fuck are you doing? And I think that that phygital space is a really important half step. So when I was talking to the creators of Dcon about the Vincent's program, I think things like that and what you guys are doing with physical goods and sort of bringing the two worlds together, there are some consumers that kind of just need that half step. And I see working with someone like Frank and his own personal artwork or what he does with Kid Robot, marrying things like that together is a really great way to take their community that is putting physical items on a shelf and let them know there's another experience out there when that shelf gets full. Because newsflash, the shelf always gets full, right? Like if you sell art, Jermaine, man, I got no more room. Hey, we figured out a way how to make more walls. Frank, how do you see the importance of, bringing in people in that half step to slowly get people to go into this thing that you're all on board on, but there is a little bit of consumer resistance that just needs to be met?
Yeah, I mean, some people have a trouble, so some people, like it's on the phone, it feels very ephemeral because they don't understand the underlying technologies and the value of it being on the blockchain. And that's a whole other discussion. Like,
Yes.
What are you really buying? You're buying a certain amount of computational time. It has value, right? So that's a deep level thing. In the short run, yes, like providing a digital match or a real life experience attached to your digital purchase, it does give people something to hang on to, right? And some of them will never quite get it, but most of them will like meet other people, and the talk will start, and the super fun collector competition starts, right? We all like to get the rare, and you'll get there. In the short run, though, the phygital model is actually really great for the independent artists and even the big IP, because my experience is that I probably have 10,000 new customers on Veve, minimum, right? Most of them had no idea that you could actually get a physical Labbit toy or plush, or there were other artworks, they get to discover, right, stuff they may want, and I get new collectors that I had no other way to reach. That's valuable to IP and to artists, because what it does is we get an immediate short-term reward for doing a long-term commitment to Veve's model. So it also helps us over a hump. It makes me feel real safe. It makes me want to do more. And as you all know, David collects toys, right? So, what you love originally is always going to be there. So to me, it's a win-win scenario. You win on both sides. Not only do you get faster acceptance, you get more security, but there's a short-term return. Just you get more action overall. And it's all free.
Yeah.
Like no one's paying for it, right?
And I think that short-term gain, no, it totally makes sense, because I think that short-term gain gives people a customer confidence of like, well, I'm putting up $100 today, and I walk away with this in my hand, and maybe that digital part that they don't understand yet, when they're on their phone, AKA taking a shit, they're like digging around, they're like looking at stuff, and like, oh, this is awesome. And it's that level of exploration when you're already, letting it all go anyways, that you start to dig around and find out other
And also, like, what I saw happen here this year, I didn't come last year, is having the physical item is also like a way to gather people into an actual physical space. And there's something they can touch and get signed and screw
Yes.
with, right? And so even though the long-term true value will not be the t-shirt, it will be the NFT, right? Or the digital collectible, or whatever we decide we want to call it. In the long term, okay, that process of people physically meeting, that's something that doesn't really happen elsewhere in the digital landscape.
Right.
There's like the Ape Fest, but we all know what that is, right? Okay, it's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
So this is a way to actually bridge the gap from between like the inhumanness of technology and like, we had a really fun weekend. A bunch of people hung out, they made connections, they made friendships, they fucking partied. And all I saw, okay, everybody that is like, dude, this is weird. This is weird. Why are you doing that? I go, look, man, like, all I saw all weekend was everybody was happy.
Yeah.
And if, collecting and art doesn't make you happy, it's not good. So this is good because y'all were pretty stoked this weekend, right? Right? Is anybody pissed off or sad that you came? What the hell more do you want? It's perfect.
Well, I mean, perfectly put. Friday night, VIP night, everybody rushes to where they think the gold's at. You guys are a digital business. It's all quote unquote make believe and invisible, but I saw a real fucking line and I saw a lot of people standing in it and they were having a good time. Because if you're standing in line for something that you love, it's part of the experience. It's part of the journey. And the people around you love it. Like everybody here has probably met somebody standing in line for a concert. You love the same band. You identify with the same sort of morals of the artist. And I saw people over there doing what they normally don't do. Dude here at the top of the hour, boom, got it, told his buddy. It was a two-person community, right? But over there, everybody was having fun, standing in line, being together. So it does show that a digital community has fun standing next to each other and be like, what do you collect, or what are you into? What are you standing in line for? What are you trying to get? Can I see the price list? Like it's those moments that just make this a full circle experience.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's not just team and product. We all celebrate the wins together. We all celebrate the losses together, and collectively, we're moving that story forward. And I just don't know an experience where you would get that elsewhere.
So we're getting ready to head into a new year. What are some of the big goals for Veve going into 2023? And when we see you here next year, what would you like to have pulled off between now and then? I mean, you've dominated your own world.
Yeah, our biggest goal moving forward in 2023, and by the way, our legal counsel's down there, so I'm not allowed to make any false statements or anything. And I just saw my co-founder walking in, so I want to make sure he's not under pressure to do the deliverables and our fans out here. We just want to make sure, number one, is that everything we build through great phases, that we're no longer, going to be rushing into deliverable. Because this, as you mentioned earlier, is that you guys don't even know how early you are. You guys are in extremely exceptional early stage of this transformation. I've been collecting over 20 years, from stamps to telephone cards, to toys now, and I'm still collecting today. This entire weekend, Frank, Jermaine, drawn pieces of artwork for me, but I collect digital, because it's a new medium, it's a new choice for people to collect. We're not trying to say don't collect the physical, we're just saying here's an alternative option. But now the fans wants to go, what else can these digital collectibles do? And the best thing we are going to be launching in 2023 is the metaverse.
Yeah.
It's the experiment. What else you're going to do? How you're going to put this in your home, your environment, invite your friends in, build your own community. One of the biggest thing about Veve is about the community, and it's about because every single member out there, every single user are their own star. They are the artists. You see the folds, the artworks that they put together with the IP that we provided them. It brings them close in together. Through the pandemic period, a lot of these users never thought they would be a creator in art way, but they all are. They created their own showroom. They publish, they upload it to their social media, and there's other people liking it. And they discover new friends and new community through that way. So 2023, it's about the metaverse, it's about that experiment, enhancing it to bringing it to another level.
You know what I love about that is physical goods will never die. We'll always live in this world. But with digital, what you just said there that I really liked is that we don't know what's next. And that's the fun of it, right? It's a new frontier. It's adventurous. You guys couldn't totally tell me anything you're doing next year, because even you don't know what you're doing next year, right? And that's part of the fun of the community and the buying in, the camaraderie of it. And I could probably speak on behalf of everybody here. We're excited to see what comes next. Let's make some noise for Frank Kozik, for David, for Jermaine Rogers, and for Risa Veve. Thank you guys so much. Our first standing ovation of the weekend.